I'm so glad you're here listening to the Sustain Your Passion podcast. I'm Genesis, your host and business development expert. If you're ready to make a bigger impact and income while helping others, then you're in the right place. Thanks for joining me, and I can't wait to help you sustain your passion. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Sustain Your Passion. Today, I'm talking with Katie Whittington. You may remember Katie from a previous episode, but today we are talking about something near and dear to both of our hearts, maybe in different ways, though, because we have different opinions. So today is going to be a really interesting conversation all about CRMs. Now, if you're like, wait, what is this acronym? I'm a new coach. Why are you throwing new acronyms at me? That's okay. We're going to explain it. Just hold on. So first, I'd love to introduce you all to Katie, who's here with me, and we are going to be talking about CRM today. So Katie, go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you, what you do, that kind of thing.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I'm glad to be here again. So my name is Katie Whittington. I am an accredited online business manager, and I help neurodivergent, that means like ADHD, autism. I even include chronic illness in that. I help them simplify their systems and their tech so that they can make uh, consistent income while they're having inconsistent energy levels. I'd love to connect with anyone. You can find me on Instagram and really anywhere else under the WHIT workflows. And yeah, love to connect.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Katie. So for everyone listening, we met in a Facebook group, I think. Like we
Yeah.
randomly met like months and months ago. So I just wanted to pause real quick and remind you, like, there are connections to be made all over the internet and join Facebook groups. Like, I know it sounds so like 2015, 2016, but like, no, they're still a thing and they're great. So engage there for sure. And yeah, I think we met in like an ADHD entrepreneur group,
Yeah.
and like there's lots of great like niche spaces that you can be connecting with colleagues on. So just have to throw that out there.
I definitely agree. That's great advice.
Awesome. So let's talk CRMs. First and foremost, what is a CRM, Katie? Tell the listeners.
Yeah, so a CRM is going to be a client or customer relationship management tool. So it is how you are keeping track of any leads that you have coming in, any potential clients or customers that you're talking to. And then many of them, you can also go all the way through your process of onboarding to, depending on what kind of service or what kind of thing you offer, all the way to the end offboarding them.
Hmm.
So it is definitely a tool where you are managing your clients, preferably all in one place.
Hmm. Right, right. Okay, I hear you speaking about like the tool clearly, right? So like the CRM software system. So let's give some examples of those. What would be just like a couple that you see people using often?
Yeah, so Honeybook and Dubsado tend to be the most popular ones that I've seen, but there's also, especially as you get to bigger agencies, HubSpot is one. I saw one recently that was called like Flowsoft or something like that with a
Okay.
client, and it was specifically for people who help with snow removal.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
so there's like even super niche ones.
totally.
Um, some people use automations and forms in things like Airtable or ClickUp a lot. So there are a ton of different kinds out there, and it's just finding the one that works for you.
That makes sense. Okay. So I'm going to speak a little bit about my experience with CRMs, and then I'd love to hear like your pokes and prods and like I'm just gonna throw it out there. I don't currently have a CRM, right?
Okay.
And I've made over $200,000 in my business. Like my coaching is like soaring. And so personally, I am on the side of this conversation, especially for you listeners. I already got Katie's consent to this, but like I'm a little bit like anti CRMs for small businesses. And I want to talk about that because I
Yeah,
know that like that's just a belief I have based on my experience. And maybe there's a tool that can fix all my problems. I don't know. I'm open to it. And so far, it sounds like you're open to being like the bearer of good news for me, right? Like we can talk about
absolutely.
it. Okay. So my experience with CRMs is all from my sales work. So I've had jobs where my sales skills were used for like over 15 years and in various sizes of organizations from startups where it was brand new, we were filling all the spots we had. And so lead tracking was really important, but it wasn't directly my responsibility, right? I was on the sales side. So I was like the closer. I would come in when
Mm,
they'd bring me hot leads and they'd book appointments with me. And after they left, they were our client. Like I was that end of the funnel because that's where my special skills are, right? Like connecting with people, finding out if it's the right fit for them and helping them take an empowered decision. Like that's my skill set through and through in a lot of those roles. But CRMs would be typically how I would use them is like I would get into work in the beginning of the day, I'd load up my CRM, and basically it would automatically spit out like, these are the leads you should contact today based
hmm.
on like their engagement on our website or in our emails or their lead forms or whatever, whether it was 2 weeks ago that they signed up last night or 6 months ago. Like the system managed that and we got to set it and be like, okay, when someone does this, tell me to contact them 2 months later. Or if
Right.
somebody submits this form, remind me to call them tomorrow. And it's so different now because for me in my business, one of the things that I really really speak about and like stand for is consent-based marketing. And so I want to talk a little bit about like when marketing
Hmm.
becomes sales, right? And like I think that's a really important delineation here because the marketing side of things is just so different than what you're doing when you're in a sales conversation. And so I would love to like, yeah, just dig into that in terms of where, like you mentioned, CRM could cover the entire client experience, but where is it going to be the most impactful for a small business?
Right.
Because, the businesses I'm talking about, we were selling, contracts that were between 10 and 20K. They were year-long commitments. They were $1 million properties we were
Hmm.
on. And so it was just very different. And even in other roles where I was selling, like it just was such a different conversation. And so the nurture side, right, of a CRM is what I think is really cool about automating out of like yourself out
Yeah.
of, right? Is like your CRM can do so much nurturing for you that by the time someone is actually talking to you, they're ready for a closer to come in and sell them and
Hmm.
like help them make their purchase, right? And so that's how I view a CRM is like the lead to sale. So like from they just discovered who you are to they're ready to buy. Like
Right.
that's my lived experience with it the most. But I also know that like when I think of Dubsado, I think of my friends and colleagues over the years that they're scaling their service-based businesses and they do that by creating repeatable processes and systems,
Hmm.
tools, because they typically the difference that I've noticed is they have like a suite of services and they're creating custom packages for each person, which is not what I teach or do in my business, right?
Right.
Like I have certain services, you either buy that service or not. Like I'm not in that game of like an interior designer that's like, are we going to do this level, that level, or this level, for example.
Right.
So I have a little this is just my background, giving you my context. But then this is the other layer of CRMs that gets me. Okay. I worked in a group that was literally called customer relationship management. Like that was our team name.
Hmm.
And it was in an IT group. And we were basically the people that sold our customers on our IT solutions, like in house.
Okay.
And so it was like the communicator between like the tech nerds and the people using the tech. Like it was that conversation space. And CRM was our team, right? So customer or client relationship management. And so it was the philosophy in which we did everything. We were like the social butterflies. We were the people that, like, when the IT group was like, I just need to know if they want the padding changed on this one button, but I'm not going to sit and talk to the client for an hour to find out that, they'd call our team in and we'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah, social butterflies, we want to talk to them. And then we get the answer and take it back to the team. And so, like, I can't currently separate the CRM philosophy that says
Right.
takes a personal touch and CRM technology that my experience says feels cold. Even though I know it's like, yeah, because you're automating the boring shit so you can do the personalized stuff
Right.
better. But that's my background. So lay it
All
on me,
right.
Katie. What are you thinking? Where do we start here?
Yeah. So when you were describing like the big corporate part of everything and how like the system would tell you who to call and all of that, it reminded me of when I was working on political campaigns. For those who haven't heard of me before, my background is, before I started working online, is working on Democratic political campaigns in the United States. But there is a similar system like that where like and it's mostly like we would build lists for organizers, or when I first started, I was an organizer myself, based on like all of these different criteria. And organizers and volunteers are calling these people or sending text messages to, you know, talk about who they're voting for, talk about how they're getting to the polls, whatever our goal was at that time. So that kind of reminded me of that. And they do call it a CRM. It's just not, I don't think about that. I don't think about voters as clients.
Clients,
So like, I
right?
don't think, but it is very similar.
Mm-hmm.
When I talk about a CRM, as far as for small businesses or for solopreneurs, I am talking about the going from someone sending you an initial inquiry, or maybe you, whatever your method is to get potential leads and sending a cold email, whatever, that being the step one, and anything else before that being like part of your marketing. So your CRM is going to, like, if you have those, your CRM is going to help you manage those really warm leads who you know are already interested in you. They just kind of haven't taken that next step yet. And it happens all the time where people are just like, they forget whatever it is, especially when you're working with people who are neurodivergent.
Totally.
We all read our text messages and respond in our head. And then we find out a week later, no, you didn't.
Right. When you go to message them and be like, hey,
Yeah.
I've never heard back from you. Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't
exactly.
respond.
Right.
Yeah.
So in this way, the tool, whether it's something as simple as an automated Airtable sheet that's going to be like, hey, it's been 5 days since you heard from this person, or whatever it is, it's just going to give you that nudge of maybe you should follow up. So taking it to that stage. And then once they, sign on with you, then you can do the automated contract, the automated invoice, and all of that. Many of them also do recurring invoices for monthly things and all of that, and offboarding as well. So yeah, anything before that is not something I consider client relationship management, because they're not a potential client yet. They're just they're there, but they haven't really expressed any interest in you, or you haven't expressed any interest in them. They just exist in the ether.
Right.
And then when you talked about the IT thing, that I think is kind of just so interesting, as far as like different terms we use to call things. Yeah. Like I would consider that an account manager, like somebody who's managing the account and like handling that side of things. Yeah. But then I guess, yeah, as a person in a role, that's also, you're managing the relationship of the client just as one person.
Right. Yeah. And that's the scaling difference here, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
difference. And I remember when I was onboarded into that team, the supervisor had this spreadsheet, and it was literally just a gigantic Excel spreadsheet that she started since her first interview at the organization. And she's just started tracking every detail she could get to know about the person she was talking to. So like every person that interviewed her, every person that she met on day one, like their name was listed, their title, what she could go to them for, what they were passionate about, like the level of detail that, the person, if you've had this experience, like, who I'm talking about, like the person in the office that's going to walk by you on the way to the bathroom and remember your kid's name, or remember
Mm-hmm.
that like you play softball in the local team, like in the local community, and ask you about it. Like that level of memory is what she optimized out of her brain, right? Like she realized,
Yeah.
I don't want to carry all this information in my brain, but I need to have it somewhere that I can
Yeah.
reference regularly to keep the relationships going. So, do you think of CRMs as like, would that level of note go in a CRM, or is that like too early still?
No, it definitely can if that's something you want to have in there. Any CRM tool I've worked with, especially if you're creating your own and something like ClickUp, has the space to do that, where you can have those kinds of things in there. A lot of them also have custom fields you can have. So, like, let's say this person's interests, they really like softball and action movies. Uh, then later on, depending on how big a team you have, or depending on like how many clients you have, as you grow, you can search for people who really like softball and really like action movies.
Right.
um yeah, so it's definitely possible to do that if that's something you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So when you say big enough, right, like as in growing, I'm curious, do you have a threshold for like, okay, you're big enough now, you really need a CRM? Or are you like ground zero, everyone should have one?
I think they are beneficial to everyone at starting right off the bat, because trying to build one when you have a bunch of clients is going to be a lot harder than already having the process in place.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be something that you can also teach people that you're bringing onto your team, who may be handling a different part of your day to day for you. Having that process in place, it's going to be a lot easier to teach them what's going on and how to onboard a client than it is without it.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So, in terms of the client experience, I I'm curious your thoughts of like, when would you want your lead to go into your CRM? At what point? Like you said, like they've expressed interest or you've expressed interest. And so I think something I'm thinking about in terms of coaching, right? There's And if you follow my social media, like I'm not a big fan
Mm-hmm.
of like one-off sessions. Like I don't think that's where coaches do their best work. I think coaches do their
Right.
best work in like sustained programmatic transformation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so for me, that means that we're talking high ticket offers, like
Right.
1,000 plus, right? So in that scenario, there's just the reality, right? Of most online business, like 1% of your audience will buy from you, right? Or it's like
Mm-hmm.
super low like that. And
Yep.
so it, in that thinking, let's say if we had 100 people in a CRM, one person's going to buy from you. How would you advise someone think about the time trade-off of the entry? Because I'm assuming it's manual entry of like an individual's information into your CRMs to do the cool shit with it, like so it can do the automated reminders.
Yeah.
Like I'm assuming there's manual entry that happens like, okay, somebody engaged with me on social media, they're a lead. They're not a client yet, but they're a lead. I don't want to hand track that. Like that's my big thing. Like I do not want to go in and be like Genesis Long at Genesis_Rose messaged me on October 4th about my dog. Like, I don't want to hand type that. That will slow me down.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me why I'm wrong, though.
I mean, you're not wrong. For me, it's I am going to have them, like, I just had somebody sign up for a discovery call with me. And so they are in right now. I'm using Honeybook right now. It's the prettiest.
I love that.
It's, yeah, but so they're in my CRM now because they want to have a discovery call with me. And because of that, they also, once they book the call, they automatically get like a short little questionnaire just so I know what they need and what the discovery call is going to be about. So they're there. And then I think when you are going through, like, it's really up to the individual person and what is going to work for them. It's what I preach all the time because we are all so different.
Totally.
But for like a hard and fast rule, I think if you are going to have either a call or like a Voxer session, or you're having like some sort of, process where they're like, you're asking them these questions, it might be easier to just send them like, hey, I'm really excited to talk to you. I know you want to learn more about my coaching program. Go ahead and answer these few questions, and then we can, you'll learn more about them. And that's, and then I'll know how I can best help you, like whatever you want that wording to be.
Sure.
So I think when you get to that point of like, they are really like, you can tell they would sign up for you if they just knew with you, they just knew a little bit more. I think at that point, you want to start putting them in a CRM.
Okay. That makes sense. And so thinking of my tech stack right now, like all the tools I use, for me, the way I think of it is until you download one of my freebies, like until you give me your email address by you signing up for something I give away for free, whether that's a webinar, a checklist, a workshop, whatever, a free call, I don't track you. That's kind of how it is. And so I think we're saying the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Because it's essentially once they've decided, like on some level, hey, I want to know more, like I want to engage with you,
Yeah.
they're raising their hand saying, like, I'm interested. At that point, for me, they're basically creating their own log in my email software system or in Acuity. So I either use, so Flowdesk is my email software, and I also use it because it's pretty. So when you said that about Dosado, I was like, that's my reasoning for Flowdesk too. It's so pretty. But so Flowdesk and then Acuity. And so I have these two spaces, and I actually just the other day pulled a report out of Acuity and realized I can see all the people that I've had calls with, and I just crossed 200 calls like with individual
Nice.
people. I know it's fun, but like I never noticed that. I didn't know
Yeah.
that, because I didn't look at the numbers. And because they are separate, like for me, my ideal client journey is like you engage with me on social media, you want one of my freebies, so you sign up for it, and then you book a call. And so you're already in my Flowdesk CRM, air quote CRM. So like technically I could go in and like find your name in my audience list as like a person on my email list. And because of that being set up and the workflows behind it, you actually have like a 2.5 week nurture sequence of emails that are coming through to you.
Right.
And then on those emails, right, you're invited to a call. And then if at that point you book a call, you're now in my Acuity system. But I don't have like a central space that like reads what's happening in Flowdesk and reads what's happening in
Right.
Acuity to then tell me like, hey, text this person or something. And so just knowing that as my layout to start, what could you see there being benefits of for like if I were to add a CRM to that? Like what additional benefits would there be?
Yeah. So what is your process after they book a call with you? And like, how does that all work as far
So
as like
after they
invoicing
book a
contracts after
call,
that?
yeah. So my closing rate for my calls are about 70%. So I pretty much know like Yeah, it's like really good. If somebody gets
Nice.
on the
Yeah.
call, I'm probably closing them. And so with that, that's part of like my consent-based marketing philosophy too, is like I also don't want to waste either of our time. So like by the time you're on a call, like you've gone through a lot of
Right.
pieces of information to know that you probably already like me and they're like 70% sure you're going to work with me. So with that, if they don't close on the call, then they stay in my email list. They get my weekly updates about my podcast and like they're, just floating in my email list until they decide to circle back and message me or like buy something when I have like sales emails go out.
Mhm.
If they sign up, then Flowdesk has checkouts now. And so I just send them that link and they check out all on their own. Flowdesk automatically emails them access to the program materials, including a Acuity scheduling link for booking their calls. So it's all automated in terms of like onboarding into my world by my email software.
So it sounds like you have a client relationship management tool then.
Interesting. See, okay, that's one of these like goofy acronym things
Yeah.
because Flowdesk is an email
You've
marketing
turned it,
software,
it's an
but
email marketing software, and a lot of people don't like use their email. Like for me, because I like my services are pretty custom, like I
mm,
need them to sign, and I'm like performing services. It's not like a course or anything. I
mm,
need them to sign a contract. So that's why
mm,
I use something
I
like
see.
HoneyBook.
Okay.
Um, and it also has scheduling in there as well, and you can make pretty questionnaires.
Mm,
But I mean, you have that automated process with
gotcha.
Flowdesk where you're going through like they're buying the course or whichever they're buying and they're scheduling things with you.
Yeah.
So you already have that going in.
Mm, okay.
Uh what have if they don't sign up on the call with you, do you know they're just not going to sign up? Like there's no follow-up or
No.
anything involved?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much either they're going to sign up in the next couple of days, and so then I'll maybe I try really hard not to follow up with people. I've made a commitment to myself that like I don't want to be a pushy follow-upper. And
Yeah.
so like unless they tell me, can you check in with me on Monday? I don't offer it because I want them to want to work with me. Like that's
Right.
a big like client detail for me is like my ideal client is like trying to get on my calendar yesterday, like they are
Okay.
ready to do their work. And so if they don't close, I don't follow up with them too much. Like I usually have either a this isn't for me kind of deal. Like I can get a read where I'm just like, I probably didn't even pitch to you. I didn't even want to talk to you about working together kind of
Right.
because they still get through, um,
Yeah.
or they're asking me to work with me and the only detail is when they can afford it. And so then they either are buying it now, we're working out a payment plan, or like they're gonna buy in a month and I know that. So I'll like put a thing on my calendar that's just like checking with that one person. But even that, I rarely do. Like if they tell me like, oh yeah, I'm ready in like a month, I'm like, great, when you're ready, message me because I don't want to be chasing loose ends all the time. But I know market research would say the follow up could be increasing my closing rate, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
But I mean, 70% is very good. So it's
Right,
also like,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. True.
So really just to like for people who don't have that good of a closing rate, or for, coaches who are, maybe their introductory call is really more of a get to know you thing. Like they would rather just hop on a phone call with someone, and there's plenty of, extroverts like that. I'm not one, but
Right.
they're out there.
Yes.
You know, if that's the first part of their process, then the people are going to need to get nudged a little bit more.
Yeah.
And my ADHD brain doesn't remember that the people exist unless they pop up as a reminder for me.
Totally. Yeah.
Which is not, to anyone listening who doesn't understand that concept. People with ADHD have issues with object permanence,
Mhm.
and it's not any hit on you. We just don't remember you existed.
Literally. That's why I take off all of the cupboards I can. Like all the doors on my closets are gone.
Nice.
like I hang my clothes on the back of my doors because it's like if I don't see it, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Makes sense. And so I guess, yeah, if I didn't do weekly emails, then I would probably be considering, well, how am I keeping myself top of mind for those people?
right.
Because that is pretty smooth. Like I schedule those out pretty far too, because it's podcast related.
Yeah.
So it's just like quick little reminder. So I guess, yeah, I'm assuming that for those folks that don't close on the call or in the next week, that will be enough to like keep me on their mind, and same as like social media. But yeah, like if I'm thinking about the calls that I've taken more than like a month ago, if I haven't heard from that person, they're probably not going to buy from me. If they do, they're going to be motivated enough to reach out to me because they'll see me on social media or on email. Like I've not personally experienced it where my follow-up reminder was what they needed to be like, oh, that's right, I wanted to work with you. And
Right.
they close. So I think that's maybe a difference in just how I like front load that. Like the barrier
Yeah.
to spending time on a call with me is pretty high, right? And so I'm hearing maybe a difference is like the extroversion, right? Of like if you're comfortable just getting on a call with someone, like dope, go for it. But like
Yeah.
personally, I put up a few like gates you have to walk through before you're getting on a call with me, which is also why my closing rate is so high because, and I know
Exactly.
that if I didn't have that, I'd be burning myself out because I'd be taking all these calls with people that don't close, which ends up fucking with my mindset, which is not helping anybody.
Right.
So ultimately, like I guard my time pretty stealthily. So maybe that's the difference there. And then also, I wanted to circle back to something you said about like questionnaires and intake forms. So it sounds like your flow is they book it and then then they're invited to complete an intake form. Is that right? Like it's two separate
Now
actions?
with now with HoneyBook, they actually have this thing called lead forms where they'll like within the same thing, they'll book the call and then the next page can be a questionnaire. They didn't used to have that. So I used to have it where they would book a call and then there was an automation set up to send them a questionnaire.
Hmm.
Um, so
So I do all that in one step. So you can't book a
mhm,
call with me unless you fill out the form.
right. And that's the same
So,
for me now.
okay.
But
Yeah.
my form's just going to be really like simple. Like, are you looking for help with project management? Are you looking for help with tech, funnels? Like, what is it you need help with? And then we'll talk more on the call and see like what's best for them.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, it's really hard to have like cookie cutter like programs when you're doing like one-on-one actual service and implementation.
Hmm. Interesting. I disagree. And I think we disagreed a little bit on that like the last time we talked
There
about
there
like the
are ways,
modification.
yeah, there are
Yeah.
ways to do it, but I've just found like everyone I'm talking to needs
Yeah.
something that's so different
Mm.
that it's been hard for me to like really narrow that down. Is and not narrow down like like these are the things I offer. I know that much, but as far as exactly like, okay, do you need, how many emails are going to be in your funnel? What is the type of, what are we connecting it to? What do you need? Like what back end thing are you working with? Um, that's all going to change the price.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And that's where, so let's talk about price for a quick second. If somebody was like, brand new, that solopreneur, scrappy, like, I just need a CRM and it needs to be cheap. What would you say is like the first place to start?
I think using something like Airtable or ClickUp, where they have uh, even their free versions, I believe, have a certain amount of automations.
Mm.
And I think I think for both of them, the forms are like the next level up. But
Mm.
for ClickUp, I think the next level up is like $60 for the year. So
Mm.
it's like still pretty affordable.
Mhm.
And if that's like you don't need you don't need a contract software. Like you're good with Google Appointments is free if you want
Mhm.
somebody to like if you want to do that.
Yeah.
Uh so if you don't need certain things, then something like the Airtable, ClickUp uh, is going to work for you. And I would, if Google Sheets have reminder automations, I would say even something as simple as that,
That'd be so
but they
cool.
don't. So that kind of defeats the point.
Right. Oh, that would be so
Unless you're
nice.
checking it every day
Right.
to remind you, then yeah.
Yeah, I used to do so as an academic counselor. Something I used to do for my students when I was in a cohort-based role is I had a spreadsheet, and basically I had like, the first 5 columns were all their details, and then columns like 6 through whatever were their last touch points. And I would put like the date that I would reach out to all of them on, and like put little X's in every single box
Hmm.
based on who I talked to, change it to Y if they responded, and then like manually be logging all of our engagement because I had
Mm.
to report it for the grant. And so it was like both really helpful in that I had client notes, right? And like they were all my clients at that point and they weren't
Yeah.
leads, which is like the marketing versus sales dynamic, I think. But yeah, as a client, it was super helpful when I was juggling, 2 to 400 clients at a time. It was absolutely necessary.
Right.
I guess, yeah, maybe that's a difference too, is like, what's your caseload, right? If you're talking about like my business model sustains on like 25 clients a year. And so I could use one, but if I want
Right.
to grow that, I probably should use one.
Right.
Yeah. Huh. Do you think
Oh,
CRM explains, like, do people know what a CRM is? How would you describe its like biggest benefit?
hold on.
Okay.
Okay, I can hear you now. It went out for a second. I didn't hear the last thing you said, like
Okay.
30.
I was just thinking, like, CRMs, right? We gave a definition, but do you think that's something that most people like know about or know they need when they get into business? Like, how would you describe the benefit of it to help someone if they're thinking, okay, I've heard a lot about CRMs on this podcast. Like, do I need it or not? Like, what's the biggest benefit that you think having one offers you?
The biggest benefit for me is I can collect information and have people sign up for things without me having to do anything. Like the form is on my website, like there's a button on my website to lead them to the form. And so it is all there. And then also like if once we do have a call, um, I don't have to worry about the follow up on that end either. Like if I send them the contract, I have things in place to remind them to sign the contract. Uh, and then same thing with like missed payments and things like that. I don't have like Honeybook is going to send those payment reminders that a payment's coming out, as well as, hey, this payment didn't work.
Hmm.
So that's not something I don't have to worry about the admin of that. Of course, if they're missing their payment, I do have to worry about that. But like, I
Right.
don't have to send the email saying they missed their payment.
Yeah. So it does that for you. That's
Yeah.
nice. Right.
So it really just kind of like, it depends on what you're doing, how many people you're talking to, and what your process is. And again, a CRM doesn't have to be something super fancy. It can be something that you're just keeping track of in something like Airtable or even Google Sheets if you don't need reminders. Like if you're good about that kind of thing, Google Sheets is a great place. It's just a way to have everything like everything where you can see it and you can see all the information and you're not going back and forth between different apps
Mm.
and different places to talk to people. Like, I'm sure you do this too. I have 3 conversations going on with one friend about 3 different things in like
Total.
TikTok and Instagram and Facebook message. Like we're having 3 different conversations,
Yeah.
which
Yep.
is fine with my friends, but not as easy to do with a client.
Right.
So that like it just kind of helps with that problem.
Gotcha. That's cool. Okay. I'm curious if you know of any tools that could do something that I think would be so freaking magical. If I could get a tool that does this, I would do it. I would probably buy it. All of my social media engagement, I want that tracked. Like, I want every person that's ever liked one of my posts to be in a list somewhere. I want every person that's ever like messaged me or commented to exist in a list that I can reach
Right.
out to. But I don't know if there's AI or something that can like a bot that can read your engagement on all of your social media platforms and put it into a pretty dashboard for you.
Um, I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to get the information out of things like Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
But one, like, uh, something that I have started to create just for myself and just because I love pretty data visualizations, is Google Data Studio. You can build those kinds of dashboards, but it is like you have to build it. It
Yeah.
is not
Yeah.
like, yeah, you have to build it or you have to pay somebody to build it.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of different things you can do with it, and it looks really cool. So if that's something like paying someone to build a dashboard or those kinds of things, yeah, it's definitely possible.
Gotcha.
It just takes that kind of work. And
Mm.
I imagine that's because it would just like, I don't know why someone hasn't created like some sort of analytical tool where you could pull everything in, but there's probably something with, proprietary meta information or all of that where it's hard to get it out.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. I have been seeing in the Meta Business Suite, they have a new like leads tab.
Mm, hmm.
And it seems like it's really beneficial when you're running ads, but
Yeah.
otherwise not so much. Like technically it's a lead form, so like yeah, people could fill it out, but that's kind of like, in the last 20 years, people have shifted away from like generic lead form, like
Hmm.
tell me you're interested in working with me type of forms, to tell me you're interested in working with me by downloading
Yeah.
this freebie, right? Like there's some exchange immediately for even expressing interest.
Yeah. I found the Meta Business Suite is geared a lot more towards people who advertise.
Yeah.
Uh, I haven't advertised myself or used it that way, but I have worked in it for clients and for other
Mm.
people. Um, but yeah, so there's analytics in there, but I'm always like, okay. Like,
Exactly.
do I care about this? Not
Yeah,
really. But I
right.
guess somebody running ads would.
Yeah, right. That's totally I have a marketing friend that we differ in our opinions of like where to sell and like where sales happen. And she's much more like all of it can happen in the apps, like in the social media apps. And I'm more like, yeah, I totally could, just like not my style. So like
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about my offers, sure. I'm going to invite you to learn more, but I'm not going to be like, I don't know. I'm not going to be expecting that the sale happens on a social media app. Like I would be surprised if somebody was comfortable buying, thousands of dollars of coaching just from DMing me. Like I know that people say that exists, but that's just not how I would buy. So I'm very cognizant of that. And so I wish, yeah, there's other than ads, more ways to be tracking all those conversations so you can take it, off the social media app, which feels more real somehow. Like, I don't know, feels more legit. Like, wouldn't expect like Target, I'm not gonna buy stuff from Target through Instagram. I'm gonna buy it through their website. So
I mean, it really depends on your style and what's going
yeah,
on. There's a lot of coaches and providers I've seen who do successfully sell things in the DMs.
yeah,
Um, and it's just kind of, yeah, whatever you got going on. It's definitely possible, but if it's not like you also as a coach, like on your like not only do you want them to feel comfortable, but you want to make sure you feel comfortable with them. So if you're not learning enough about them in the DMs and you need to have a conversation with them,
true.
that's your style and that's fine.
Yeah, totally.
I think it's good for people who are selling like one-off things and they're
Mm,
not really going to have to work with the person. Like maybe they're selling a course that's just a course, there's not really any support involved.
mm,
Then I think that becomes a lot easier.
But for a service provider or a coach who's like really working with the person, it's more difficult.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, that would be, I think of that too as like a price threshold sometimes. Like, if you're selling a passive offer, under $1,000, sure. If you're selling like a high touch, high ticket offer, like, yeah, back to your question, do you want to get to know them better? Like,
Yeah.
maybe. Oh, interesting. Well, anything else that you want to share with folks about CRMs? Like, I know we did some polls. I think we've covered like
Yeah.
most of these topics, but what else is on your mind?
I see you had like for the trickiest part of managing clients, it looks like few people we've talked about like making sure why CRMs are great for making sure no one slips through the cracks. But as far as prioritizing who to talk to first,
Hmm.
I think that again, it depends. But also like if you have you're like, okay, I'm gonna follow up with my uh low ticket offer or my like whatever, if you have tiers in your business, I'm
Yeah.
going to follow up with that person every 2 weeks. The higher ticket ones that I've had a great conversation with and everything, they're going to get more of a nudge like every 5 days.
Mm,
So I think your priority should just be whatever you want it to be,
mm,
and then stick to it and
right.
see and test, see what's working for you.
Totally. That makes sense.
And then, oh, I think we got through everything else though. But yeah, if you are interested in learning more about how CRMs and automations and everything can help you, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram or just connect with me. Would love to chat with you.
Awesome. Yeah, you know everything about CRMs. I love it. And there's so much you can do with them. So I love hearing all of the different tech tools and like that you know that and like what all exists in them. I feel like that's such a big benefit for someone that's like trying to figure out, what even are my options
Hmm.
first. And then, okay, now how do I pick which one is right for me? So I think it's, yeah, super helpful to have this conversation. Thank you so much for your time. And definitely, you probably heard it at the beginning, but if you aren't following Katie yet on social media, be sure to go find her. And thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you for having me. It was a great time, great conversation.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Sustain Your Passion podcast. If this episode helped you gain a bit more clarity, courage, or confidence, please share it with your friends on social media or in a text. It would mean the world to me. Thanks in advance for sharing this episode. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.